I held a strange stone in my hands. Heavy, smooth. In the center, a perfectly round hole. Around, a desert. No trees, no water, only wind and sand. And then you look at this object and can't shake the thought. Who made it? And why? It all started with a map. A year and a half ago, I was looking at satellite images of the Sahara and suddenly saw it. A huge, almost perfect circular structure. An eye. That's what they call it, the Eye of the Sahara, or the Richat Structure. I stumbled upon the LAI channel. They were probably the only Russian-speaking researchers who had been to Richat and were planning to return. They didn't just talk, they acted. I realized, this is my chance, and I went with them. The journey was not easy. Rocks, heat, sand, and no connection. When we got inside Richat, it became clear. No photo captures what it really looks like. From the air, perfect rings. But when you stand inside, you can't see them. Around, just alternating slopes, hills, layers of rock. Everything seems chaotic until you look from above. But even without this geometry, the place feels unusual. Maybe when there was water here, everything looked completely different. Maybe then the rings were visible as shorelines. In one of the middle rings of the eye, there's a real oasis. We stopped there for lunch. Greenery, shade, coolness. So water is nearby, even in this seemingly scorched place. I had a metal detector with me. Didn't have high hopes. Just decided to try. Under one of the acacias, a clear signal sounded. I started digging. In 40-degree heat under the scorching sun, not exactly fun. The hole grew. The ground became denser. And finally, tin cans. Who buries tin cans under a tree in the middle of an oasis? Are you serious? The longer I stayed there, the stronger the feeling that this place was not ordinary. That something really happened here, but it's not clear what exactly. And then the finds began. At first, just fragments. Stone blanks, strange pieces of rock, and then real objects. For example, discs. Stone, with a perfect hole in the center. All a bit different, but clearly not made by chance. With thought, with an understanding of form. Most are made of quartzite. And that's not a soft material. It's not easy to work with even modern tools. Why they were needed is an open question. Some say weight, bracelet, cult object. But if that's the case, a question arises. Who and how drilled quartzite in these conditions thousands of years ago? Most likely, the discs were made for something else. But later, primitive people found them in the desert and used them as axes or clubs, attaching them to handles. We found other stone tools too. Simpler, rougher, but also interesting. Each item seems to carry its own little story. We visited local museums, talked to traders who still find and collect such artifacts. Visited a site where ancient people once lived. But what surprised us, these finds are likely not as ancient as Atlantis. People were here, that's a fact. And not just once, in different eras. But there's a feeling that something here is much older than we usually think. And that's when I started to wonder, what if this area was indeed another world before it became a desert? After all, it's not just us who notice. Scientists have long known that the Sahara wasn't always like this. 12,000 years ago, there were rivers, lakes, forests, elephants, giraffes, hippos, and humans here. So what we now call a desert was once a land of life. And now let's remember Plato. He describes Atlantis as a city of rings, with mountains to the north, sea to the south, and says it disappeared in one day and night, underwater. Many consider it a myth, but Plato himself says it's a story Solon heard from Egyptian priests in the Temple of Neith. Those priests claimed it happened 9,000 years before their time, about 12,000 years ago. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe not quite. Geologists found traces of giant landslides off the coast of Mauritania. Whole blocks of the seabed moved for tens of kilometers. This could have caused a mega tsunami, and if there was a civilization on the shore, it wouldn't have survived. We don't know what was here, but there are oddities, there are coincidences, there are traces. Now we're preparing a new part of the route, already by the ocean, starting from Cape Verde, then heading towards the African coast. The maps are empty, but underwater there are canyons, elevations, strange terrain anomalies. We'll pass through an area where the seabed seems raised, as if something is hidden beneath the water. And we'll reach the very edge of the continent, to where there was once land, and now only a blue drop into the deep. Here's what interests us. What if part of the answers is hidden not under the sands, but underwater? What if the Sahara and the ocean are 2 pages of one story, divided by a wave? Maybe with underwater drones we'll find something unusual. And if not, at least we'll see what no one else has seen. In any case, it will be a real adventure. And if you feel like you'd like to see all this with your own eyes, come with us. We're setting off on a new expedition. Not for sensations, but to understand. There will be desert, there will be ocean, there will be a path. You have no experience? Doesn't matter. The main thing is attention, interest, and the ability to go all the way. Maybe you'll notice what others haven't. I don't want to prove we've found Atlantis. That's not so important. Something else is important. We see that there are missing pages in human history, and someone has already started rewriting them. Could you be the one to continue, or just keep it inside yourself, and then pass it on to your children, and they to theirs? Sometimes all you need is to stop. Look at a stone found in the sand and ask yourself a simple question. What if? What if you like and comment? What if you travel with us? What if you check the description and subscribe to my non-existent Telegram channel? Bye. From the upper section of the canal to the section along the sea, straight channels almost 100 feet wide were dug, and they were 100 stadia apart.